Sir, are you okay? I think he's drunk. I need to do something quick.
She was just a waitress working a late-night shift. He was a mysterious man who drank too much and could barely stand. Out of kindness, she drove him home. She didn't know he was a vampire. She didn't know powerful immortals were hunting him. And she definitely didn't know that one small decision would destroy her old life and awaken something ancient inside her. Stay till the end, because what happened after she drove him home will shock you. Before we dive into this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more thrilling stories like this one. Let's begin. Emily Carter wiped the counter for the third time, even though it was already clean. The diner was quiet. Too quiet for a Friday night. The neon sign outside flickered softly, and the smell of coffee and fried eggs hung in the air. She was tired. Not the kind of tired sleep could fix. The kind that came from long nights, low tips, and a life that felt stuck. "Table 7 hasn't been touched in an hour," Clara whispered as she passed by. Emily followed her eyes. Table 7. The man sitting there looked wrong. Not bad. Just strange. He was tall even while seated. His black coat hung perfectly on his shoulders like it had been tailored for him alone. His hair was dark and neatly combed, though a few strands had fallen across his forehead. His skin was pale, too pale, like he hadn't seen sunlight in years. And his eyes. Emily frowned. "They're red," Clara said quietly. "Like, really red." Emily picked up the coffee pot. "I'll handle it." She walked over, forcing a polite smile. "Hi, sir," she said. "Can I get you anything else?" The man slowly looked up. For a moment, Emily forgot how to breathe. His eyes weren't just red. They were deep, glowing slightly like embers under ash. Sad eyes. Heavy eyes. The eyes of someone who had seen too much. "I've had enough," he said. His voice was low and smooth, but it sounded tired. Ancient even. Emily glanced at the empty wine glasses on the table. 3 of them. Maybe 4. "Are you sure?" she asked gently. "You've had quite a bit already." He gave a small, humorless smile. "I've had much worse." She reached for the check. "I'll get this for you." As she turned to leave, he spoke again. "You shouldn't be working nights." She paused and looked back at him. "Excuse me." "The night is cruel to kind people," he said. Emily laughed softly, uncomfortable. "Well, the night pays my bills." For the first time he smiled for real. It was brief, but it made her heart skip. "Emily," he said suddenly. Her smile faded. "How do you know my name?" He blinked, as if surprised himself. "Your badge," he said quickly. Emily glanced down. He was right. Still, something felt off. She handed him the check. He pulled out his wallet, but his hand shook badly. When he stood up, his chair scraped loudly against the floor, and then he stumbled. Emily rushed forward. "Hey! Careful!" She grabbed his arm before he could fall. The moment she touched him, a strange cold ran through her fingers. Not unpleasant, just unexpected. "I'm fine," he muttered. "You're not," she said firmly. "You're drunk." His lips twitched. "That's unfortunate. You can't drive like this." "I don't drive," he said. "That's worse," Emily replied. "How are you getting home?" He looked around like he'd forgotten where he was. The lights, people, the noise. "I don't remember," he admitted. Emily hesitated. She had been warned her whole life not to trust strangers, especially strange men, especially drunk ones. But something about him didn't feel dangerous. He looked lost. "What's your name?" she asked. "Lucian," he said after a pause. "Lucian Blackwood." Emily nodded. "Okay, Lucian. I'm Emily. And I can't let you walk out like this." "I don't want to cause trouble," he said quietly. "You won't," she replied. "But you're not leaving alone." Clara appeared behind her. "Everything okay?" Emily lowered her voice. "He's really drunk. I don't think he can even stand." Clara looked Lucian up and down. "Wow. He looks rich. Emily shot her a look. Clara raised her hands. Just saying. Emily sighed and turned back to Lucien. Do you live nearby? Yes, he said. Far, and yet close. She stared at him. That doesn't help. Lucien swayed again. Emily tightened her grip. I'll drive him, she said suddenly. Clara's eyes widened. Emily, no. It's fine, Emily said. I'm done in 10 minutes anyway. Lucien looked at her like she'd said something impossible. You would do that? He asked. Emily shrugged. I'd hope someone would do the same for me. For a long moment, Lucien just looked at her. Then I owe you more than you know, he said. Emily didn't know it yet, but helping the man at table 7 was the moment her old life ended. The air outside was cold, sharper than Emily expected. She helped Lucien into her old car, the engine rattling as she turned the key. You okay? She asked. Yes, he said, though he was gripping the seat tightly. Thank you. She pulled out of the parking lot. The diner's neon lights disappeared behind them. Silence filled the car. So, Emily said, trying to break it. Where am I taking you? Lucien hesitated. Blackwood Estate, he said. Emily blinked. Never heard of it. That's understandable. She followed the directions he gave her. Each turn took them farther away from the city. Streetlights became fewer. Buildings turned into trees. Emily frowned. You live out here? Yes. It's kind of empty. Lucien didn't respond. She glanced at him. His eyes were closed. His face looked tense, like he was in pain. You feeling sick? She asked. No, he said quickly. Just don't stop the car. Her hands tightened on the wheel. Why? Lucien opened his eyes. They glowed brighter now. Because if you stop, he said slowly, they'll find me. Emily swallowed. Who's they? Lucien turned his head toward the window. The ones who don't forgive weakness. A chill ran down her spine. Lucien, she said carefully. Are you in trouble? Yes, he replied. Like human trouble? She asked. He laughed softly. No. The temperature in the car dropped suddenly. Emily's breath fogged in front of her. Is your heater broken? Lucien asked. No, she whispered. She checked the rearview mirror and froze. For a second she didn't see him. Lucien's seat was empty in the reflection. Emily's heart slammed against her chest. She looked again. He was there. Her hands shook. Lucien, she said, her voice barely steady. Can you do something for me? What is it? Tell me the truth. He was quiet for a long time. I'm not human, he said finally. Emily laughed nervously. Okay. That's not funny. I'm not joking. She took a sharp breath. Then what are you? Lucien closed his eyes. I'm a vampire, he said. The word hung in the air. Emily wanted to stop the car. To scream. To run. But instead she kept driving. That's not possible, she said. I know, he replied. And yet here we are. She gripped the steering wheel harder. Are you going to hurt me? Lucien turned to her. His expression serious. No, he said. If I wanted to, you would already be dead. That didn't help. Why are you drunk? She asked. Because I wanted to forget, he said. And because vampire blood and alcohol do not mix well. Emily swallowed. You shouldn't have helped me, he said softly. You're too kind for this world. Emily shook her head. I don't believe that. The car continued down the dark road. Somewhere deep inside, Emily felt it. The feeling that once she reached his home, nothing would ever be the same. The car slowed down on a long empty road surrounded by tall trees. Emily felt like she had been driving forever. Her phone had lost signal a long time ago. Even the night sounds, crickets, distant cars, were gone. It was too quiet. Are you sure this is the right way? Emily asked, her voice low. Yes, Lucien replied. You're close now. She looked ahead, confused. Close to what? There's nothing here. The road ended suddenly. Emily pressed the brake. In front of them stood a massive iron gate, tall and dark, covered in old symbols she couldn't read. Beyond it was thick fog, and behind the fog something large loomed. Emily stared. This place wasn't here a second ago. Lucien didn't answer. Before Emily could ask another question, the gate creaked and slowly opened on its own. Her heart started racing. "Nope," she whispered. "No, no, no. This is where I turn around." "Please," Lucien said quietly. "Just a little further." Emily looked at him. His face was pale, his eyes dimmer now, like he was losing strength. "You look like you're going to pass out," she said. "I might," he admitted. Emily swallowed her fear and drove through the gate. As the car moved forward, the fog lifted, revealing a huge stone mansion. It looked ancient, like it had been standing for hundreds of years. Tall windows, sharp edges, dark walls covered in climbing vines. Emily parked slowly. The moment she turned off the engine, the air felt heavier. "This is your house?" she asked. "Yes," Lucien said. "Welcome to Blackwood Estate." Emily stepped out of the car. Cold wind brushed her skin. The mansion towered over her like it was watching. "This place looks abandoned," she said. "It isn't," Lucien replied. She walked around to help him out. The moment he stood up, his legs gave way. "Lucien!" Emily caught him just in time. His body was freezing cold. "You're burning up or freezing, I can't tell," she said. "Inside," he whispered. "Please." Emily supported him as they walked toward the massive doors. Before she could knock, the doors opened by themselves. Emily froze. "Nope," she muttered again. They stepped inside. The doors shut behind them with a loud echo. The inside of the mansion was even stranger. Candles lit themselves as they walked forward. The hall was huge, with high ceilings and old paintings lining the walls. Emily looked at one painting and stopped. It was a woman. Dark hair. Soft eyes. She looked familiar. Emily shook her head. "Weird." Lucien noticed her stare. "Don't look at that," he said sharply. Emily turned to him. "Who is she?" Lucien didn't answer. They reached a large room with heavy furniture and a fireplace. Lucien collapsed onto a couch, breathing hard. Emily rushed to him. "You need a doctor." "No," he said quickly. "No humans." "Then what do I do?" she asked. Lucien sat up slowly. "Emily," he said, his voice serious now. "You need to leave." Emily frowned. "Leave? You can barely sit up." "This is dangerous," he said. "For you." She crossed her arms. "I didn't drive all the way out here just to abandon you." Lucien looked at her, surprised. "You don't understand what I am," he said. "I understand that you're not okay," she replied. "And I'm not heartless." Lucien laughed weakly. "That might be your greatest flaw." Suddenly he stiffened. His eyes widened. "They're close," he whispered. Emily's stomach dropped. "Who?" Lucien stood up, forcing himself to stay steady. "Emily," he said firmly. "If anything happens tonight, you must run." Before she could respond, he walked toward a heavy door at the side of the room. "What are you doing?" she asked. Lucien opened the door, revealing a small room lined with thick metal chains bolted into the walls. Emily stepped back. "What is that?" "A precaution," he said. He walked inside and grabbed the chains. "Lucien, stop," Emily said. "This is crazy." He looked at her, his eyes glowing brighter. "If I lose control," he said slowly, "I don't want to hurt you." Her breath caught. "You're serious," she whispered. Lucien wrapped the chains around his wrists and pulled hard. The metal locked with a loud click. Emily's heart pounded. "You chained yourself up," she said. "Yes," Lucien replied. "Now go." Emily shook her head. "I'm not leaving you like this." Lucien met her eyes. "Then pray I don't fail," he said. The room was silent except for Lucien's heavy breathing. Emily stood frozen in the doorway, staring at the chains holding him in place. "This isn't normal," she said softly. "No," Lucien agreed. It's survival. She stepped closer. You're scaring me. You should be scared, he said. That means you're smart. Emily swallowed. Then why are you fighting it? Lucien laughed bitterly. Because once I didn't. Emily hesitated, then asked, what happens if you lose control? Lucien looked away. I drink, he said. And I don't stop. Emily felt sick. You mean blood? Yes. Human blood. Yes. Emily took a step back. Then why am I still alive? Lucien looked at her again. His voice softened. Because I choose to be, he said. The chains rattled as his hands shook. You're getting worse, Emily said. Yes. Because you're drunk. And hungry, he admitted. Emily hugged herself. So what now? Lucien closed his eyes. We wait, he said. Until the alcohol leaves my system. How long will that take? Hours. Emily stared at him. You expect me to just sit here while you suffer? Yes, he said. Or you leave. Emily paced the room. This is insane, she muttered. I should be running. And yet you aren't, Lucien said. She stopped pacing. Why don't you just feed? On someone else? Lucien's jaw tightened. Because I don't hunt humans, he said. Not anymore. Emily frowned. Not anymore. Lucien's voice dropped. I promised myself I would never become that monster again. The candles flickered violently. Emily felt something shift in the air. You're in pain, she said quietly. Yes. She walked closer despite herself. Lucien growled low in his throat. Stop, he warned. You're too close. Emily froze. Why? Because your heart is loud, he said. And your blood smells wrong. Wrong how? She asked. Stronger, he replied. Older. Emily's heart raced. That doesn't make sense. Lucien pulled against the chains. Emily, he said urgently. You need to leave now. I'm not leaving, she said. Lucien snapped his head up. Do you want to die? No, she said. But I won't abandon you. For a moment, Lucien just stared at her. No one has ever chosen me like that, he said quietly. Emily's throat tightened. You're not alone. Lucien laughed softly. I have been alone for centuries. The chains rattled again. Lucien cried out in pain, bending forward. Emily rushed to him. What do I do? Nothing, he said through clenched teeth. Just don't offer yourself. Emily froze. Offer myself. If I drink from you, he said, his voice shaking, I won't be able to stop. Emily swallowed hard. I trust you, she said. Lucien looked up sharply. Don't. I do, she repeated. Lucien shook his head. That trust will get you killed. Emily reached out, stopping inches from him. Lucien, she whispered. Look at me. He hesitated, then met her eyes. You're stronger than this, she said. I believe that. Lucien's eyes burned red. Please, he said. Leave before I fail. Emily stepped back, tears in her eyes, but she didn't run. She sat down on the floor outside the room. I'll stay right here, she said. So you don't face this alone. Lucien closed his eyes. For the first time in centuries, the Vampire King prayed. Emily sat on the cold stone floor outside the small chained room. Her back rested against the wall. The mansion was silent except for one sound. Lucien's breathing. It was deep, uneven, and filled with pain. She hugged her knees to her chest, trying to calm herself. This is crazy, she whispered. I barely know him. From inside the room, Lucien let out a low growl. Emily, he called softly. You should not be here. I'm fine, she replied, though her hands were shaking. I'm not going anywhere. There was a pause. You don't understand what's coming, Lucien said. Before Emily could ask what he meant, the candles lining the hallway flickered violently. A strong wind rushed through the mansion, slamming doors shut. Emily jumped to her feet. Lucien, she called. The chains inside the room rattled loudly. "They've found me," Lucien said, his voice tight. "I was afraid of this." Emily's heart started pounding. "Who found you?" Before he could answer, a loud crash echoed through the mansion. Boom. The front doors shook. Emily backed away slowly. "Someone's breaking in." "Yes," Lucien said. "And they are not human." The doors exploded inward with a deafening sound. Heavy footsteps echoed through the halls. Emily's breath caught in her throat. A tall man stepped into the candlelight. He wore a dark coat and gloves. His face was sharp, cruel, and emotionless. His eyes glowed a dangerous yellow. "Lucien Blackwood," the stranger said coldly. "You've been difficult to find." Emily's legs felt weak. "Who are you?" she demanded, though her voice trembled. The man's eyes flicked toward her. "A mistake," he replied. "Marcus," Lucien growled from the chained room. "Leave her out of this." Marcus smiled. "You've brought a human into your home. How disappointing." Emily clenched her fists. "I'm not leaving." Marcus laughed. "Brave. Stupid. The same thing, really." He took a step toward her. "Don't touch her," Lucien roared. The chains snapped tight as Lucien pulled against them. The walls shook. Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You chained yourself. How weak you've become." Lucien's voice dropped. "If you harm her, I'll kill you." Marcus smirked. "You can't even reach me." Marcus moved fast, too fast. In 1 second he was in front of Emily. She screamed as he grabbed her wrist. "Stop!" Lucien shouted. Marcus leaned close to Emily's face. "Do you know what he is?" Marcus whispered. "Do you know what he could do to you?" Emily swallowed hard. "I know he's trying not to." Marcus's smile faded. "Interesting." Suddenly Marcus shoved Emily hard. She fell to the floor, her arms scraping against the stone. Blood trickled from the cut. The smell hit the air instantly. Lucien froze. His eyes burned bright red. "No," he whispered. Emily tried to stand. "Lucien!" he screamed. The chains snapped. Metal exploded against the walls as Lucien broke free. In one blur of movement, Lucien was between Emily and Marcus. "You should not have done that," Lucien said, his voice no longer gentle. Marcus laughed. "There he is." They clashed violently, moving faster than Emily could follow. The room shook as furniture shattered. Marcus slammed Lucien into a pillar. Emily crawled backward, terrified. "Lucien," she cried. Marcus pinned Lucien to the wall. "Finish it," Marcus taunted. "Drink from her. You know you want to." Lucien's eyes flicked to Emily. Blood stained her sleeve. He growled deeply. In a flash, Marcus was thrown across the room. He crashed into the wall and didn't get up. Lucien turned slowly toward Emily. He froze. His fangs were out. "Lucien," she whispered, fear and trust mixing in her voice. "It's me." He took a step closer. Then another. "Don't," he said, his voice shaking. "Please don't tempt me." Emily's heart raced. She knew she should run. But she didn't. "You saved me," she said softly. Lucien groaned, gripping his head. "I can't stop," he said. "The blood." Emily looked at her bleeding arm. Slowly, trembling, she raised it. Lucien's eyes widened in horror. "No," he said. "Do not offer that." "I trust you," Emily said. Lucien shook his head. "If I drink from you, I'll kill you." "I don't believe that," she replied. He fell to his knees in front of her, shaking. "I have waited centuries to be better than this," he whispered. Emily knelt too, their faces inches apart. "Then prove it," she said. Lucien cried out softly, and then his fangs pierced her skin. Pain flashed through Emily's body, but it wasn't what she expected. It wasn't burning. It wasn't fear. It was warmth. Lucien drank carefully, slowly, like he was terrified of hurting her. His hands shook as he held her. "I'm sorry," he whispered against her skin. Emily's vision blurred. Suddenly the room disappeared. She was somewhere else. Candlelit room. A woman stood in front of her, beautiful, pale, with dark hair and soft eyes. The woman smiled sadly. "You look just like me," Emily whispered. The woman touched her cheek. "I am Eleanor," the woman said. "And so are you." Emily gasped. Images flooded her mind. Castle. Crown. Lucian, young, laughing, human-looking. Eleanor in his arms. Love. Then blood. Fire. Screaming. Betrayal. Emily cried out. Lucian pulled back instantly. "Emily," he said. "What did you see?" She collapsed into his arms, shaking. "There was a woman," Emily whispered. "She looked like me." Lucian froze. "No," he said. "That's impossible." Emily looked up at him. Her name was Eleanor. Lucian's face went white. "That was my wife," he said. Emily's breath caught. She said, "I am her." Lucian backed away slowly. "You shouldn't be able to see that," he said. Emily held her head. "I felt her love. Her pain." Lucian stared at her like she was a ghost. "You were born the night she died," he whispered. Emily shook her head. "That's not possible." Lucian reached toward a painting on the wall and turned it. Emily gasped. It was Eleanor. She looked exactly like her. Same eyes, same mouth, same face. "That's me," Emily whispered. Lucian's voice broke. "No," he said. "That's her." Emily's knees gave out. "What does this mean?" she asked. Lucian looked at her with fear and awe. "It means," he said slowly, "you were never a coincidence." Emily's heart pounded. "What am I?" she asked. Lucian swallowed hard. "You are the echo of a love I lost," he said. "And a mystery even I fear." Emily stared at the painting, tears running down her face. Outside, far away, something ancient stirred. But Emily didn't know that yet. All she knew was this. Driving a drunk stranger home had awakened a past that refused to stay buried. The mansion felt different after the bite. The air was heavier, charged with something unseen. Emily sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket Lucian had brought her. Her arm no longer bled, yet her body felt strange, warm, restless, awake in a way it had never been before. Lucian stood across the room, his back to her, staring into the fireplace even though there was no fire. "I didn't mean for that to happen," he said quietly. Emily swallowed. "You saved me." Lucian turned slowly. His eyes were darker now, calmer, but full of fear. "I broke a law older than this world," he said. "By feeding from you." Emily frowned. "You said vampires drink blood." "Yes," Lucian replied. "But not like that. Not with choice. Not with connection." She hugged the blanket tighter. "What does that mean?" Before Lucian could answer, every candle in the room went out at once. Darkness swallowed the hall. Emily gasped. "Lucian." "I'm here," he said sharply. "Do not move." A cold wind swept through the room. The shadows on the walls began to stretch and twist, forming shapes, figures. Then they stepped forward. 5 vampires emerged from the darkness. Each one looked powerful, ancient, and terrifying in their own way. Their eyes glowed red, gold, and silver. Their clothes were elegant and old-fashioned, like they belonged to another time. At the center stood a tall woman with white hair and pale skin. Her presence alone made Emily's chest feel tight. "The Crimson Council," Lucian said under his breath. Emily whispered, "That sounds bad." Lucian stepped in front of her protectively. "You were warned, Lucian Blackwood," the woman said, her voice calm but deadly. "Yet you continue to disappoint us." Lucian lowered his head slightly. "I did what I had to do." The woman's eyes moved to Emily. "And you brought a human into this sacred place," she said. "Worse, you fed from her." Emily's heart pounded. "I said yes," she blurted. Lucian stiffened. "Do not speak to them." But it was too late. The woman stepped closer, studying Emily like an insect. "She carries her scent," the woman murmured. "And something else." Another vampire, a man with long dark hair, narrowed his eyes. This one is wrong. Emily's voice shook. I'm right here. Silence, the white-haired woman said. Lucien's voice dropped, dangerous and cold. You will not threaten her. The room trembled. The woman smiled faintly. You forget your place, King Blackwood. Emily blinked. King. Lucien didn't deny it. You abandoned your throne, the woman continued. You chose isolation. And now you choose a human over our laws. Emily looked up at Lucien. You're a king. Lucien didn't take his eyes off the council. I was. The woman raised her hand. Instantly, invisible pressure forced Lucien to his knees. Lucien, Emily cried. Kneel, the woman commanded. Or we will kill her now. Lucien dropped fully to the floor. Emily screamed. Stop. The woman ignored her. This human must die, she said calmly. She is bound to you. She carries echoes of forbidden blood. Emily's stomach dropped. You're talking about killing me like it's nothing. Lucien's voice shook with rage. Touch her, and I will burn your council to ash. The woman tilted her head. Even if it means your death. Lucien didn't hesitate. Yes. The room went silent. Emily stared at him, tears filling her eyes. Lucien, don't. The council exchanged looks. Finally, the woman spoke again. You have until the next full moon. Remove the human from existence. Or we will. With a wave of her hand, the candles relit. The council vanished. Emily collapsed onto the couch, shaking. They want me dead, she whispered. Lucien stood slowly, his fists clenched. No, he said firmly. They want control. Emily looked at him. What are we going to do? Lucien met her eyes. We run, he said. They left the mansion before dawn. Lucien moved fast, packing only what he needed. Emily watched him, her mind spinning. I don't understand any of this, she said. Yesterday I was a waitress. Lucien stopped and looked at her gently. And you saved my life. That's what got me into this mess, she replied weakly. Lucien shook his head. No. Fate did. They drove through back roads as the sky slowly lightened. Emily pressed her forehead against the window. Her body felt wrong, too sensitive. Every sound felt loud. Every smell felt sharp. Lucien, she said, why does sunlight hurt my eyes? Lucien tightened his grip on the steering wheel. That shouldn't be happening yet, he murmured. What do you mean yet? She asked. He didn't answer. They stopped at an old motel far from the city. The sign flickered, vacancy. Inside the room, Emily sat on the bed. I feel hungry, she admitted. But not for food. Lucien turned away. That's not possible, he said. I didn't turn you. Emily winced as the light from the bathroom stung her skin. Lucien, she whispered. Something is happening to me. He walked over and knelt in front of her. Listen to me carefully, he said. You are not becoming a vampire. Then what am I becoming? She asked, scared. Lucien hesitated. You are awakening, he said. Emily shook her head. I don't want this. I know, he said softly. She grabbed his hand. You promised I wouldn't be alone. He squeezed her hand. You won't be. Suddenly, Emily gasped and clutched her chest. Lucien caught her. Emily! Images flashed through her mind. Fire, blood, a throne, screaming vampires. I can hear them, she whispered. Hear who? Lucien asked urgently. The council, she said. They're looking for us. Lucien's face went dark. That means they feel you, he said. Emily looked up at him. I don't want to be used. You won't be, he said. How do you know? She cried. Everyone keeps deciding my fate. Lucien closed his eyes, pain crossing his face. Because this time, he said, I will choose you. A loud knock hit the door. Lucien froze. Emily's heart raced. Too soon, Lucien whispered. The door handle began to turn. Lucien stepped in front of Emily. his eyes glowing red. "No matter what happens," he said quietly, "do not be afraid of what you are." The door burst open, and the night rushed in. The motel room felt too small for the truth that was about to come out. Emily sat on the edge of the bed, her hands shaking. The door was still broken from where Lucien had slammed it shut after forcing the intruder away. The night outside was quiet again, but the silence felt fake, like something was waiting. Lucien stood near the window, staring out, listening to sounds only he could hear. "They're gone," he said finally. "For now." Emily let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. "For now," she repeated. "That's what everyone keeps saying." Lucien turned to her. His face looked tired. Not physically tired, something deeper. Like centuries were sitting on his shoulders. "Emily," he said gently, "what you felt earlier when you heard them, that confirms what I feared." Emily looked up at him. "Which is?" Lucien hesitated. "I need you to listen carefully," he said. "And please, don't think I'm lying to you." Emily gave a small, bitter laugh. "At this point, I'm ready for anything." Lucien sat across from her, keeping a careful distance. "You weren't changing because I fed from you," he said. "That bite didn't start this." "Then what did?" Emily asked. Lucien took a slow breath. "You were born this way." Emily frowned. "That makes no sense. I grew up normal. I had a normal life." Lucien nodded. "Because it was hidden. Locked away." Emily's chest tightened. "Hidden by who?" "By me," Lucien said quietly. Emily froze. "You knew about me." "Not like this," he said quickly. "Not exactly. But I knew the possibility." Emily stood up, anger flashing in her eyes. "You knew something was wrong with me and said nothing?" Lucien stood too. "I didn't know where you were. I didn't even know if you survived." Emily crossed her arms. "Survived what?" Lucien looked away. "The night Eleanor died," he said. Emily felt her heart skip. "You keep talking about her," Emily said. "Tell me the truth." "All of it." Lucien nodded slowly. "Eleanor was human," he began. "She was my wife. My weakness. My light." Emily swallowed. "She was pregnant," Lucien continued. "With my child." Emily's breath caught in her throat. "No," she whispered. "Yes," Lucien said. "The council found out. They feared what a child of love, between vampire and human, could become." Emily shook her head. "So they killed her." "They tried," Lucien said. "But Eleanor was stronger than they thought." Emily's vision blurred. "She escaped," Lucien said. "Barely. She used ancient magic. Old blood magic. She hid the child's soul." Emily pressed a hand to her chest. "My soul." Lucien nodded. "She broke it," he said. "Split it across time. When her body died, the soul was reborn." Emily whispered, "As me." Lucien stepped closer. "You were born human," he said. "But not fully. You are something new. Something the council cannot control." Emily collapsed back onto the bed. "My whole life," she murmured. "None of it was random." "No," Lucien said softly. "You were protected. Hidden. Until the night you met me." Emily laughed weakly. "So I drove a drunk vampire home, and found out I'm some ancient reborn soul." Lucien smiled sadly. "I'm sorry." Emily looked up at him. "Do you love me because I'm her?" Lucien stiffened. "That is my greatest fear," he admitted. "That you would think that." "Answer me," Emily said. Lucien knelt in front of her. "I love you," he said clearly. "For who you are now. Not who you were." Emily searched his eyes. "And if I wasn't Eleanor's soul?" she asked. "I would still choose you," Lucien said without hesitation. Emily felt tears roll down her face. "I don't want to be a weapon," she whispered. Lucien reached for her hand but stopped himself. "You won't be," he said. "I swear it." Outside, thunder rolled softly in the distance. But the storm was only beginning. The diner looked the same. That was the cruelest part. The same flickering neon sign. The same cracked parking lot. The same smell of coffee and oil. Emily stood across the street, staring at it like it belonged to another life. "I just need my things," she said. "My bag. My ID." Lucien shook his head. "It's too dangerous. I can't disappear without my life," Emily replied. "Not yet." Lucien sighed. "I'll be close. If anything feels wrong, you leave immediately." Emily nodded and crossed the street. The bell above the door rang as she stepped inside. "Emily!" Clara's voice called. Emily turned. Clara stood behind the counter, eyes wide with relief. "Oh my God," Clara said. "Where have you been? You disappeared." Emily forced a smile. "It's been a night." Clara rushed around the counter and hugged her. Emily stiffened. "You scared me," Clara said. "People were asking questions." Emily pulled back. "Who?" Clara hesitated. "Just people." Emily felt it then. A cold, crawling feeling under her skin. "Clara," she said slowly, "did anyone come looking for me?" Clara swallowed. "Emily, I'm sorry." The diner lights flickered. The door locked itself. Emily stepped back. "Clara, I didn't know they'd hurt anyone," Clara whispered. "They said they just wanted to talk." The shadows in the corners of the diner began to move. Emily's heart pounded. "You sold me out," Emily said. Clara cried. "They offered money. More than I've ever seen. They knew everything about you." The windows shattered inward. Screams filled the diner as figures dropped from the ceiling. Vampires. Lucien burst through the door in a blur of motion. "Emily!" he shouted. Chaos exploded. Tables flipped. Fire spread. Vampires attacked humans without mercy. Emily stood frozen, rage burning in her chest. "Stop!" she screamed. The sound that came out of her mouth wasn't human. The vampires froze mid-attack. Lucien stared at her in shock. Emily raised her hands. They shook. Glass lifted off the ground. "I said stop," she repeated. The vampires fell to their knees. Clara screamed, "Emily, please." Emily turned to her friend. "You chose money over me," Emily said quietly. "I was scared," Clara sobbed. "So was I," Emily replied. The diner burst into flames. Lucien grabbed Emily and pulled her outside as the building collapsed behind them. Sirens wailed in the distance. Emily stared at the burning diner, tears streaming down her face. "My old life is gone," she whispered. Lucien held her tightly. "Yes," he said. "But you survived." Emily looked up at him, her eyes glowing faintly. "They will never stop hunting me," she said. Lucien nodded. "Then," he said, "we stop running." Emily turned toward the fire, her expression hardening. The waitress who once saved a drunk stranger was gone. Something far more dangerous had taken her place. The fire from the diner burned behind them like a funeral pyre. Emily stood still, watching the flames eat away what remained of her old life. Sirens screamed in the distance, but they sounded far away, like they belonged to another world. Lucien gently pulled her toward the car. "We have to go," he said. "Now." Emily didn't argue. She got in silently. They drove until the city lights disappeared and the road became nothing but darkness. Finally, Lucien stopped the car near an abandoned stone church deep in the woods. The moon hung high in the sky, full and bright. Lucien's jaw tightened. "That's not good," he murmured. Emily looked up. "Why?" "The council draws power from the full moon," he said. "They'll come tonight." Emily nodded slowly. "Then we don't run anymore." Lucien turned to her sharply. "No, you run. I stay." Emily's eyes widened. "What?" Lucien stepped out of the car and opened the trunk. Inside was an old black chest carved with symbols. "I never wanted you to see this," he said. He opened it. Inside were glass vials filled with dark, thick liquid. Emily's stomach turned. "What is that?" "Cursed blood," Lucien replied. Ancient. Forbidden. Emily shook her head. What does it do? Lucien met her eyes. It will weaken the council, he said. But it will also kill me. Emily grabbed his arm. No. There has to be another way. Lucien touched her face gently. I have lived for centuries, he said softly. You have just begun. Tears streamed down Emily's face. I didn't ask for this power. I didn't ask for any of this. I know, Lucien said. That's why I must end it. Emily stepped back. You said you would choose me. I am, he replied. By giving you a future. Before Emily could stop him, Lucien drank the cursed blood. He gasped, dropping to his knees as dark veins spread across his skin. Lucien! Emily screamed, rushing to him. The air exploded with pressure. The Crimson Council appeared in a circle of shadows, their eyes glowing brighter than ever. You disappoint us again, the white-haired woman said calmly. And now you poison yourself. Lucien forced himself to stand. This ends tonight, he growled. The council attacked. The ground shook as Lucien fought them with everything he had. The cursed blood burned through his veins, weakening the council, but tearing him apart from the inside. Emily screamed as Lucien was thrown against the church wall. Stop, she cried. The white-haired woman laughed. You cannot save him. Lucien looked at Emily, blood on his lips. Emily, he said weakly, you must finish it. She shook her head violently. I don't know how. Lucien reached into his coat and pulled out a small blade. Complete the bond, he whispered. Not as vampire, but as equal. Emily froze. You said that would change everything. Yes, he said. That's the point. The council sensed it. Kill her, one of them shouted. Emily felt something ancient rise inside her, a power she had been afraid to touch. No, she said firmly. She took the blade and cut her palm. Golden light spilled from her blood. The council screamed. Emily pressed her bleeding hand to Lucien's chest. I choose you, she said. The light exploded. Silence. The forest stood still. Emily opened her eyes slowly. The church was gone, reduced to ash. The Crimson Council was gone. Nothing remained but scorched earth and quiet wind. Lucien, she whispered. He lay on the ground beside her. Emily crawled to him, her heart breaking. He breathed. Emily sobbed in relief. Lucien opened his eyes. But they were different. They glowed softly. Not red, not human. Something new. What am I? He asked quietly. Emily laughed through tears. Alive. Lucien sat up slowly. I feel a human, he said. And not. Emily smiled. You're free. They realized then what had happened. Lucien was no longer a vampire king. Emily had not become a vampire queen. Together they had become something else, something the old world had no name for. Months later, the world believed the Crimson Council had been destroyed in a mysterious fire. No one knew the truth. Lucien and Emily disappeared. Until one night, a small diner on a quiet road. A young man sat alone, drunk, shaking, clearly lost. A waitress approached him. Hey, Emily said gently. You okay? The man looked up. I think I've had too much. Emily smiled knowingly. Do you need a ride home? Outside, Lucien watched from the shadows, a soft smile on his face. The cycle was not repeating. It was transforming. Emily was no longer just a waitress. She was a guardian. And Lucien, he was finally at peace. All because one night, a waitress noticed a vampire was drunk, and chose kindness. One act of kindness, one late-night decision, and 2 lives changed forever. If you enjoyed this story of love, sacrifice, and dark secrets, don't forget to like this video, it really helps the channel grow. Subscribe for more emotional vampire and supernatural stories like this. And tell me in the comments, backhand index pointing right, what would you have done if you were the waitress that night? Until next time, remember, Some stories begin the moment you choose kindness in the dark. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.